Hi everyone, I want to talk about the best starter builds, the best starter classes for Season 26 based on the Haedrig's Gift set. So at the start of the season, everyone gets one free set for doing a few objectives in the season journey, so this is nothing really new. And I know a lot of people actually base their choice of class on that. So I want to give my thoughts about this a little bit, and I already started making some Haedrig's Gift setup that will help you to do the GR20 and also like a very basic variation of like a T16 farming build. If you open all of these links here, you can find them right now in the description of this video, but also here on my D3 links and planners channel in Discord that has a lot of other stuff as well. So this is how these setups look like, just a basic GR20 run setup, and then, you know, when you have the full set, one you want to go for. But obviously, if you want to see the full builds, you should check out the full guides here on Maxroll. So these are the 7 different classes that we're going to see in the Haedrig's Gift. So this came around the last time long ago, I think like season 18 or something. There was like a hiccup and they messed up the rotation when they introduced the new Haedrig's Gift with the new sets back in season 21, I believe. So here we have a Raker set, which is freshly buffed and actually looking like a really good build. So if you are a Barbarian fan and you like to throw big rocks, this is a build that I have played a lot already on the PTR. Personally, I find it quite fun, but I know it's not really going to be for everyone, so it might be worth checking this out in more detail. I have a bunch of videos on that if you want to see. But Raker is actually going to be quite good, especially for farming, but also for pushing. It will end up somewhere as like an A tier build. Now, we don't know exactly if they're going to buff Raker even more. I think that is likely to see at least a small bump up, because right now it is kind of okay. It's going to land somewhere here in A tier. This is our current non-season tier list on Maxroll. And this old Raker build will disappear. This is not playable anymore. So this is what we expect. And I would say that Raker right now, as it is without further buffs, is actually also kind of like a mid-range farming build. So it's like somewhere around the level of like a Demon Hunter with God DH and Marauder, I would say. Definitely behind something like an Inner Monk, probably also an LD Bombardment Crusader, but it is pretty solid. Additionally, Barbarians are always sought after in groups, so if you are a group player, then you can play support and people will like to have you in your party. Next up, we have the Crusader with Archons. Now, Archons is a very strong set for the Crusader, even though it has very low numbers. It has this Archon Invoker combo that is one of the strongest pushing builds in the game. It got nerfed slightly this patch, but it is still pretty good. I wouldn't really say it's a great starter to begin with, but it is fairly easy. It is fairly well suited for just jumping in there, and it gets going easily, I would say. But in the end, Crusader is probably not going to be very useful for group play, so this is something to keep in mind. We're not going to see a lot of Crusaders. They were absolutely destroying in season 25 with the soul shards, and now the soul shards are gone and they got nerfed a little bit. But if you are a Crusader fan, you can play Bombardment here and then swap to LD Bombardment as soon as possible, because you're gonna have a few Thorns things going already. And LD Bombardment, as I had just mentioned, is actually one of the best solo farming builds in the game, and also pretty solid at pushing if you look at the tier list here. So right now we have Archon Bombardment as an S tier build. I think it will remain in S tier even, just barely. And we also have LN Bombardment, and there's a bunch of other things. And obviously there's also the buffed Invoker. So Invoker is already in A tier and got slightly bumped up. So if you want to try out this reworked Invoker from patch 2.73, then you also have that on a Crusader, obviously. Next up, we have the Demon Hunter. Now, Demon Hunter is extremely good. Marauder set is going to be the meta, so this is by far the strongest Demon Hunter set right now, at least in pushing. It will probably even move up to S tier. We had it slightly undervalued in season 25 because those were estimates based on just a little bit of PDR, and it actually turned out to be a little bit better with perfect optimization. So it's gonna scratch S tier most likely, and there's gonna be no A tier build for the Demon Hunters, and then there's basically all the rest. So this is what Demon Hunter looks like. So for pushing, gonna be a very good build. Marauders will also end up as probably one of the most used group DPS builds for 4-man pushing, 3-man pushing. Probably not so much in group farming, but you still have the ZDH role for other setups. You have 2 Demon Hunter roles in Foreman in pushing, so there is definitely a good times ahead for Demon Hunters. And if you don't like farming with it in solo, then there is still options like God DH, Shadow's Impale, also pretty much on the same level in farming. So you have a bunch of good stuff. And to top it off, in the new Echoing Nightmares, Marauder Demon Hunter is most likely gonna be by far the best build to just annihilate everything. You put your sentries in every corner, you shoot, the sentries shoot everything automatically, you're gonna finish those things to wave 150 in no time. Pretty much better than anything else. The 4th class here is the Inner Monk. Obviously super OP. It's gonna be the #1 solo XP farmer. Despite the nerf, Water Ally is unchanged so far. And I think that even if there's gonna be some slight nerf to the set itself, it is gonna remain the top build, or one of the top builds at least. For now, this is the best T16, the best bounty build, the best solo XP farm, the best almost everything. It's not the best absolutely everything, just like in Season 25, because they have nerfed the Fire Rune, but Innas is gonna stay as one of the best builds. And getting this from the start, especially if you also get lucky at level 1, gambling the Crusader boots or something like this, you're gonna have the craziest start that you can imagine. So if you're willing to play the Inner Monk despite the nerf, then this is definitely a good choice, especially for solo players. There is also a very good chance that Innas Monks might become an RGK in 4-man pushing, so it does have kind of a group role, and I think that especially Water Allies will probably also be the 2nd best group XP setup after the red runs. So we'll see how many monks you're actually gonna find in groups, but there is definitely some potential there, especially for people that don't like Necromancer. Speaking of which, Necromancers get Pestilence. So this is absolute trash. You don't even have to try to get this full set, I believe. You can probably just go straight to LOD, but I made like a Hades gift setup here anyway, in case you wanna try and get Pestilence rolling. But honestly, it is kind of clunky because you rely on Corpse Lancers and they need to stack a lot of cooldown reduction, and only then it kind of starts working. But it is actually a fairly solid, at least T16 build with the so-called Auto Lancer. Very fun build actually. And if you optimize it a bit, it can be really cool. But obviously Pestilence will not really carry you very far. So you have to go LOD. So for groups, this is going to be Z Necro or Red Runs as a Red Necro. And other than this, you're also most likely going to have a Trash Killer spot in groups as a LOD Scythe Necro. So this is also a contender for one of the top Trash Killer spots together with the Marauder and also the Mundunugu Witch Doctor. So it is definitely looking like a very good grouping season for Necromancers, but the start is not exactly super good. Here on the Witch Doctor we have Zuni as the starter set. It is kind of easy to get the set and do GR20 and all that stuff, but beyond that it actually gets pretty rough to start farming with it. You need a bunch of items that actually synergize with the build to start doing this Dagger of Darts combo with all your fetishes and the Mask of Jeram and all that stuff. So it's kind of slow, and the real farming setup you want to play for GRs, at least on a Witch Doctor, is going to be Eric here. So it's going to be kind of a rough start as a Witch Doctor, but there is Mundunugu, and this is kind of the reason to play it if you are a group player. Mundunugu is looking to be the 3rd Trash Killer for 4-man pushing. It is still one of the strongest AoE builds in the game, and if you are a big Witch Doctor enthusiast, you can definitely go and do 150 in 4-man next time around, competing with the Marauder and the LOD Scythe Necro for the Trash Killer spot. And to top it off, Witch Doctors actually have 2 out of the 5 possible meta 4-man DPS builds, namely Eric here as an RGK. So competing with Inna, there's gonna be Eric here as a Rift Guarding killer role. We'll see how much we're gonna see each of those. I guess that might also depend on the final patch notes, if there's gonna be some changes to Inna, especially the Earth Allies, which is the RGK build, is most likely gonna see a change because of how scuffed the AI is, and that will potentially lead to a buff to Inna, but potentially also to a nerf, because if they just fix the AI, Inna will become super strong and they will probably have to nerf numbers somewhere to compensate. So we'll see how this will affect the Monk in the end, but definitely there is a lot of potential on the Witch Doctor, just the start is not good. And finally we have the Wizards with DMO. So DMO is not exactly the strongest build on a wizard. Wizard in general is actually looking to be the weakest class next season around, and also doesn't really have any group viability. All the top builds are based on kind of clunky reverse Archon builds pretty much. So Wizard is overall just kind of like a kind of okay class with lots of A tier builds, as you can see, but nothing that is really exciting, nothing that is really great to solo farm with, in my opinion. So they have it kind of rough. And they also will definitely not be included in any group stuff the way it seems. That being said, DMO is kind of decent because it allows you to get started on the wizard in various directions. So you can do Frozen Orb with this, you can do Twister with this, you can even do some generator stuff. And depending on which items you find that are supported by the set, you can actually jump into decent tiers of farming relatively easily and then farm up your Firebird's gear or whatever you want to do as a wizard. And that also pretty much concludes this video. So to sum it up, I believe that Inner is probably going to be the most ridiculous start, followed by DH and Barbarian, because they have really good farming setups right off the bat. And then you have kind of like some mid-range classes with Crusader and I guess Necro. And then you have the Witch Doctor and the Wizard that are pretty rough to get going. But the good part is that we don't have any super OP build like we had in the last few seasons with Bone Spear or Firebird or Inner. So the balance between the classes has actually been improved significantly in next patch. And we're going to see that with the diverse form and meta, with how the classes perform in solo XP farming. It has definitely converged a little bit in terms of overall power level. So I think this is also one reason why Season 26 is going to be pretty good. And speaking of power level, here's the non-seasonal Maxroll tier list that you can check out already. So it is not updated for Season 26. We're going to have a dedicated, big updated tier list for that very soon. We are in the process of, deciding what the builds are going to be and where they will go and where they will land on the list and stuff like that. But overall, since this is a non-seasonal patch with no power creep, with no extra moving pieces like the ethereals or soul shards that we had in the recent seasons, we're gonna see mostly this non-seasonal tier list again in Season 26. So if you want to have a preview of it, you can go check it out right now. And I will also talk more about the classes in more detail in another video very soon. I hope I could help you make your choice. Personally, I'm very much looking forward to Season 26. I think it's going to be amazing with the new Echoing Nightmare, with the reworks, and with the overall balance of the patch. And hope you're also looking forward to it. That's it for now. Hope you liked this video, and see you guys next time.